Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
इस लेक्चर सीरीज में हम लोगों ने सर के साथ इस पहले सेशन का शुरुआत इसी महीने की 6 जनवरी को किया था, जिसमें डेटा ड्रिवन इनसाइट्स फॉर स्टार्टअप्स पे चर्चा की थी अपने विश्वविद्यालय के छात्रों के साथ। माननीय कुलपति महोदय के मार्गदर्शन में और प्रति कुलपति महोदय के प्रेरणा से हम लोग इस कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं। आज इस सेशन का आज ये दूसरा सीरीज हम लोग शुरू कर रहे हैं। इसमें हमें एक सीरीज ऑफ लेक्चर जिसमें 4 सेशन कराए जाएंगे, उन्हें लेकर के आज ये पहला सेशन कर रहे हैं। इस क्रम में जो पहले सेशन के फीडबैक आए थे, उनमें काफी स्टूडेंट्स ने ऐसी रिक्वेस्ट की थी कि हम इस सेशन के और भी इस थीम पर डेटा साइंस, डेटा ड्रिवन इनसाइट्स पे और भी आगे सेशन कराएं। इस संदर्भ में हम ये आज का सेशन ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहे हैं, जिसमें करीब 500 से ज्यादा छात्रों ने रजिस्ट्रेशन किया था और लगभग 110 छात्र इस समय हमारे साथ जुड़ चुके हैं ऑनलाइन। और ये 4 लेक्चर की सीरीज है। इसमें 4 लेक्चर जो छात्र सभी 4 लेक्चर अटेंड करेंगे, इसके बाद इसके क्विज को और फीडबैक फॉर्म को सबमिट करेंगे, उन्हीं का ये सेशन कंप्लीट माना जाएगा। इस क्रम में मैं अपने डीन एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप एंड यूजी स्टडीज प्रोफेसर सुबोध वैद्य सर से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि इस सेशन को स्टार्ट करने के लिए एक वेलकम एड्रेस करें। सर प्लीज।
Thank you, Abhishek ji. A very good afternoon to one and all esteemed dignitaries and participants connecting through this online platform. It gives me immense pleasure to be part of this e-lectures program under the umbrella of Atmanirbhar Bharat program. A very warm good afternoon to Professor Vinay Kumar Pathak ji, Vice Chancellor AKTU, Professor Vineet Kansal ji, Pro Vice Chancellor AKTU, the event coordinator, staff of TCUB 3, Sandeep ji, Nodal Officer TCUB 3, Sachin ji, and our today esteemed speaker, Bohitesh Mishra ji, and our most valuable faculty members and students present here. I would like to tell our Vice Chancellor, Professor Vinay Kumar Pathak ji, and Co-Vice Chancellor of AKTU, Professor Vineet Kansal ji, for his able guidance and valuable expert input that give meaningful result for the organizing a such nice e-lecture series type event and other research event like webinar, seminar, hackathon, ideathon, bootathon, and e-bootathon for the virtual lab has many innovative and startup activity to promoting innovation, entrepreneurship, and research activity under the various schemes. It is both an honor and privilege to be a part of this e-lecture series program on basics of data science and analytics, DSA using R, sponsored by TCUB 3 and organizing by Kalam Innovation Center under the umbrella of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University. I feel happy that the expert lecture today organized by our university under the leadership of our Vice Chancellor has chosen such a meaningful and trading topic which would indeed be highly beneficial for the entire teaching fraternity. It is really a commendable initiative. I hope this today lecture will success achieve its objective and enlightening some conscious concept idea in the direction of better tomorrow by this data analytics engineering. As you know, the aim of this e-lecture series, as we seen that so many challenges for running institute due to the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown situation. This is the best way to share the information among all faculties with the help of faculty development program, e-lecture series, and other valuable ideas. This is an innovative concept which only executed by the help of senior faculty members from IIT, NIT, and various valuable industry experts. We are sure that this e-lecture series will certainly help to update the enhancing technical knowledge. As you know, it's indeed a great honor to place to welcome digitally on the behalf of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University as Dean UG. We are also share that Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University is organizing a various distinguished online lecture series under the umbrella of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan and initiative of Government of India. Today we are hosting a very good topic as data analytics because from the session of 2020-21 we is starting a new BTech courses, BTech Computer Science under the umbrella of data analytics. Now we are hosting another e-lecture series virtually connecting digitally in India, which is of national and social importance. The program contribute and accelerate the adoption of digital practice in innovation and startup program also. As you know, the basic idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan education, we have many benefits for the student and faculty member of AKTU to explore their inner skill and deliver it to the human mankind by developing socio-economic startup entrepreneurship experiment. Now, I would like to again congrats to our event team coordinator and all the supporting staff of TQ3 for extending cooperation and support and taking this event to the success path. I will not go into much detail as you have learned speaker for the session to come. Hope you all would enjoy the same. I congrats e-lecture series coordinator Abhishek Nandan ji, event coordinator Sandeep ji, Sachin ji, and other all faculty members and convey my best wishes to them and emeritus resource person for the success of this e-lecture series. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable inputs and welcome address. So now I would like to request our expert of this session, Sri Bohite Mishra, sir, to address this session. And I would like to also introduce our students that if you have any question or query, you have to put up this into QA box only. We will address after the 45 or 50 minutes of the session. And if you have any more queries, you may also email us. We will address in our next session. So today we are starting with the introduction. What is data science? So and next session will be proceeding with this. So please, I would like to invite you, sir. Please.
Thank you. So, thank you, friends, and thank you, Abhishek ji, for this kind gesture. And it's a brief about myself that I've been associated with the IT industry for last more than 25 years. I'm a BTech computer engineering and an MBA in marketing with project management professional certified and a data science executive management course from IIT Delhi. And I've been part of this as many of these successful projects. One of them was the design of AC 3-tier coaches. And the next one was the development of Indian Railway reservation system. So I've been part of the core development team for that. Another one is B2B travel portal development. So I'll be talking about some of the use cases here. Solar IoT and analytics, and recent was the fintech startup. So I'll be talking some of the use cases from these latest recent entrepreneurships. So other areas which I'm been influential and I understand is IoT, mobility, data analytics, startups, and entrepreneurship. Some of the verticals that I have worked on are manufacturing, travel related, edutech, fintech, transportation, and solar. And these are some of the top CIO awards that I have been awarded with. So this session is a cluster of 4 sessions. So today's session is primarily to introduce the data science and analytics. In the next session, I'll be talking about all the details of R programming and how it is used in R Studio. The third session would be based on data visualization using R, and final session would be on the exploratory data analysis using R. So guys, just relax and focus on what I'm talking about. So this is the Gartner's technology hype cycle, and if you would have seen this talks about all those technologies which this year or in next 2-3 years would be talked about in the industry. So some of the technologies that are prevalent now are related to all data science and analytics, be it adaptive machine learning, generative adversarial networks, right? BMI, self-supervised learning, right? Digital twins, responsible AI, and at top of it, you would see social distance technologies. So when we talk about all these technologies, let me hide this. So the first one is health passport. So we have seen Arogya Setu app. So these are kind of apps that you would now continue to use in the public space, and all transport and public locations would be using your public health passport as your Arogya Setu. So other countries also have it, and India was one of the leading country to start this Arogya Setu app. Similarly, you will have this embedded AI. So even the microprocessors also are getting the AI chips into it. So it has been a potential to increase the accuracy and insight of the intelligence gained from the current and next generation sensors. So these will be all embedded AI now. So all IoTs and all would carry embedded AI. Responsible AI means that the purpose is to assist the business in making the ethical balanced decisions by attempting to reduce the biases. So it identifies the fake news. And when you have the fake news, so there is a process of generating AI. So this is a technology most often used for creating the deep fakes videos and digital content. So when you have a fake news generation process, so you would also have a responsible AI. Next is this is primarily concerned with the DevOps. So software engineers would use it. So AI will become an augment as part of the augmented development. So purpose is to improve the cycle time of the application and DevOps team in creating high quality software faster and more consistently. So AI will become a part of the software development team. So Gartner also says that by 2022, at least 40% of your new application development projects will have AI as a co-developer in the project, which means that uh, most of the developers will start using AI as part of the development process. Another 10% of the new vehicles will have autonomous driving capabilities. So these are some of the latest technologies that industry is talking about. Blockchain, it will create 3.1 trillion in business value. Next is the edge devices. So all IoT devices will talk to an edge device. So not every IoT device will talk to the central servers. It will communicate to the edge devices, and edge device will have a AI part of it, AI and analytics, and subsequently only the analytics part will be sent to the central servers. So millions and millions of IoT will not send the data to the central servers. It will send to the edge devices, and edge devices will have the AI and analytical capabilities. Another 100 million consumers will shop in augmented reality. Anyway, this has already started. A lot of e-commerce sites, you can see how you look on those clothes and how specs would look on you. So it's a augmented reality that has already started with e-commerce platforms. So more than 50% of the people collaborating in industry 4.0, that is again a new technology. People, all these connected shop floors, all CNCs, robots, they'll all be connected to, and you can control them. You can have, these are all intelligent agents which will interact with these industry 4.0. So when we talk about all these, so these are primarily all those disruptive technologies that the industry is talking about, be it artificial intelligence, the drone-based technology, big data, blockchain, right? Cloud computing, IoT, robotics, they all form the part of the disruptive technology. So we have seen that big data is everywhere. So what is big data? So it has three capabilities, three features of big data. One is the volume. So it is massive data, terabytes, lot of records, right? So till now we have been using structured table. So select star from a particular table, right? But this kind of volume is enormously very high volume of data which is being saved into the databases or the big data concept. Then you have the velocity at which the data is being stored. So it is said that the data which was uh, created till last year has been created this year itself. See the kind of volume of growth of data which is happening. So it is in near time, real time, streaming data. So whatever we are discussing is going into YouTube, and a lot of data is being created there itself. Right? And the third feature is about the variety. So till now we have been uh, dealing with the structured databases only, but the big data concept has the unstructured data, semi-structured, or a combination of structured, semi-structured, or unstructured kind of a data. So the point is that a lot of data is being collected now. It is warehoused. It is being kept because the computers have become cheaper and the communication has become convenient. So the competitive pressure is strong and people are just collating data. So they do not, so many a times the new mantra is that keep capturing the data. You don't know whether why you are capturing that much of a data, but the expectation is that the data, gathered data will have certain value either for the purpose for which it is collected or for a purpose which may not, which have not been emphasized. So these large amount of data can be used for cyber security, your traffic patterns. You see a lot of red, green, and blue on the traffic used by Google, sensor-based networks, be it all your e-commerce or your social networking, Twitter sentiments, and all that people are evaluating. Right. So these are some of the use cases where industry is using big data. So these are the scientific uh, domains through which the data is being collected, be it any of the NASA project. So some sort of petabytes of data is being collected every day or year. Similarly, those telescopes which scans the skies. So sky survey data is into trillions and trillions of kind of petabytes of data being collected. High throughput biological data or scientific simulation data. So they are into the terabytes kind of a data. So it gives us a great opportunity to resolve some of the uh, problems. So one of the problems is you can improve the healthcare and reduce the cost of the healthcare, finding alternate to energy and coming out with green energy resources, or predicting an impact of climate change. So you can superimpose from the previous years and see where all the climate change is happening accordingly, right? So this is all being done by data science, or reduce hunger and poverty by increasing the agriculture production. So a lot of other use cases are there. Like in science, we have been using it in astronomy, bioinformatics, drug discovery. Even the COVID drug vaccines have been discovered using data science also. So a lot of data analytics have been used in the drug discovery. So because of a lot of data science, you can forecast different and see the effect of a particular drug on other, or you can simulate it using data science. In businesses, it is being used in CRMs, so be it customer relationship management tools, fraud detection, or your e-commerce sites. They are all using data science, right? Manufacturing plants, they have started. So Industry 4.0, sports and entertainment, even FIFA 18 had used IoT-based sensors, and all that data was captured by the managers, and they could find out which particular player they need to replace. Entertainment, telecom, target marketing. So now the marketing is not done at random. It is very focused and targeted. So a lot of clustering is done based on the data that they receive, and finally a target marketing is done. Be it healthcare, warehouses, right? So a lot of even government surveillance, crime detection, profile of tax cheaters, and everything can be done using that. Lot of use cases are available. So when we talk about data, what does data mining actually mean? So data mining is a potential solution to a big problem facing around, and because of the overabundance of the data and dearth of the technology and time to transform numbers into nodes into meaningful information. So the point is that a lot of data is being collected over last few years, and people do not know what to do. So data science has come handy, and people are able to identify and best use the data with data analytics. So data mining is the extraction of knowledge from large volume of data that is structured or even unstructured. Right. Similarly, some alternate names could be of data mining could be knowledge discovery in data. So you would also have similar kind of knowledge or data or pattern analysis, data archaeology, data packaging, information harvesting, and business intelligence. Right. So that's some of the replaceable. We've been talking replace these keywords. So it is primarily the extraction of previously unknown and potential useful information into from the data, and then from the data you are doing a pre-processing. The pre-processing, if you have large amount of data, whether they are correlated or not. So you do feature selection, dimension reduction. So out of 100 variables, do you really need 100 variables? So which are those variables which are most? So you do principal component analysis to identify variables which are is used in the analysis. Normalization, data subsetting. You may not have 100% data available, so somewhere you have to manipulate that data and populate missing data with certain, maybe the average of the data, or based on the business understanding you would populate some hidden or the blank data. After done with that, you do a data mining. So you run certain algorithms and you come out with a data mining model. So when you run that model on a test data, you get the feel of it, you get the accuracy level, and based on that, if you are comfortable, you can move it to production. So it becomes a post processing part, which is filtering of patterns, visualization of the data, and pattern interpretation. Finally, it gives you a lot of information. So this is the iterative process. In case if you are not comfortable with the test data, the output of accuracy of the data, you can go back and do data manipulation again and use another algorithm to find out the suitable algorithm. So the machine learning is primarily categorized in supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforced learning. What are these? I'll be talking about them. So the supervised learning is primarily a machine learning group in which we teach or train the machine using data which is well labeled. That means uh, some data is already tagged with the correct answers, which means, let's say we have a bouquet of fruits in our which we want to segregate. So if I give the machine an understanding that this is the shape of an let's say banana, it is yellow, and we specify certain characteristics of different fruits, and then when we have categorized all these different fruits, and then we ask the next uh, lot and identify whether it is banana, accordingly we cluster them. So we are this is what is supervised learning. We are making based on certain characteristics, we have categorized our output, and accordingly now we are running the machine learning to segregate all the other fruits. Correct. So finally it understands based on different characteristics of different fruits that it is labeled as apple or banana or mango, and accordingly it will cluster accordingly. This is what is supervised learning. So some of the methods used in supervised learning are like regression, logistic regression or linear regression, classification. So we'll learn few of these in our sessions today. Naive Bayesian classifier or a decision tree or support vector machines. So these are some of the algorithms which are supervised learning. We give them inputs, and based on that input it is trying to do a model. So advantages is that supervised learning allows the collecting data and produce the data output from the previous experience. So using your historical past, you are trying to predict some future. So helps in optimizing the performance criteria with the help of experience. So based on your business knowledge and your experience, it takes help of that and finally does the model based, so which is a supervised learning. So the disadvantages could be that classification, big data could be a challenge, right? So you are guiding the system and finally it has a big data and which could be a challenge. Training for supervised learning needs a lot of computing time and so it requires a lot of additional time. Next is the unsupervised learning. So which means that even though if it is a, let's say, a, a cluster of all these pets, right? So a dog or a cat or a different kind of different classification of dogs. So what it does is in the first, it picks up the first animal and tries to categorize, uh, identify its characteristics and places it in one of the bins. Next, it takes another. Let's say it is trying to classify another animal. Okay, so what it does, it tries to identify whether you have that as part of the bin or it is a different classification. If it matches your previous classification, so it puts the same dog in the same bin. Otherwise, it creates another bin. So it is trying to classify based on the characteristics it identifies itself. So it is a unsupervised learning of classification. Got it? So that's the difference between a supervised learning. So in supervised learning, you are guiding the system and accordingly then it will cluster and classify accordingly. And in unsupervised learning, it reads from the characteristics, it learns from it and then does the unsupervised learning. That's the difference between the two. So in unsupervised learning, there are two methods which are most prominent. One is clustering and the other is association. So clustering is used in the, let's say, the sales and marketing team. So if you have the CRM data, you would do a target marketing. So you cluster that customers according to certain characteristics. So it correct cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3, which are distant apart and they are same in nature, same features in nature, right? So accordingly, if you have let's say a group of teens who are studying maths and preparing for let's say IITs, right? So that is one cluster and you can do a target marketing for those kind of customers or those people who are in the range of 30 to 40 and going to, let's say, golf playing. So you can target a different kind of a product for those kind of customers. So this is what is clustering. Association is primarily used in the market basket concept, where you understand that if you have bought one particular product and there is an association with another product, so you are likely to buy another product when you buy X. So you are likely to buy Y as well. So these are association rules which are formed based on the buying patterns of the customers. So we'll learn clustering and association in subsequent uh, slides. So these are some of the major data mining tasks that are uh, very popular. One is classification, which is like predicting the item class classification. Clustering is finding a clusters in the data. So similar in nature, distant apart from the other clusters. Association. So if somebody has bought A and B, C is also likely to be purchased. So that's an association rule. Visualization are your different forms of output of the different data models. Summarization is your statistical models. Deviation detection is outlier detection. So in case let's say you do transactions of 5,000, 10,000 range, and all of a sudden, if you do a 1 lakh worth of a value of credit card transaction, immediately your bank calls you that is that you. So how do they come to know? They have implemented a deviation detection algorithm. So they understand that your buying pattern is 5,000, 10,000 range, right? And all of a sudden, if you purchase a product of, let's say, 1 lakh rupees, it's a deviation from the standard pattern, and they get to know about this deviation. So immediately their sales manager or your coordinator will call you whether it is you or not. Estimation, so sales forecast for March 2021, right? So you are based on the historical past, you are trying to predict the future. Link analysis, finding relationship between variables. So these are some of the algorithms, and this all can be clustered into 4 streams. One is clustering related. So you would see a lot of data which is clustered in the similar kind of data streams, and they are distant apart from each other. So their features are different with each other, but they are all the items within the same cluster are similar in nature. Association rules are like if you have been asked to buy milk and Pampers from a shop, you are likely to purchase, let's say, beer. So what they would do, they would have seen a series of data and then created an association rule, and then they would place next to milk and Pampers, they would also place beer. So you are likely to purchase beer because that comes from the data. So data speaks itself. Next is a predictive modeling. So whether you are assigned, you have good capabilities, but you are not approved of a credit card. Why so? So based on certain parameters and the fraudulent transactions, it identifies and does a decision tree. So this is what is predictive modeling. Based on certain parameters, you are either approved of a credit card or disapproved of a loan or whatever. Next is the anomaly detection. So these are outlier detection. So somebody, all of a sudden you would have seen that you get an alert. Have you tried logging in from, let's say, an IP which is Hong Kong or Singapore or some other location? So the system understands that you have been logging in from uh, Lucknow area or NCR area, right? It understands from your previous patterns, and all of a sudden, if that IP login IP is from some other country, it immediately alerts you that is that you, because your pattern has been in this range, IP range, and all of a sudden a different IP range has you have tried to log in. Is that you? Try to change your password, and also that is the anomaly detection. So even this can be classified using a predictive and a descriptive methods. So predictive are those classification, regression, your time series analysis, or predictions. These are all predictive analytics. You would also come across descriptive, which is a historical data is there, and you are trying to create certain mean, median, mode. Those are whether using it for clustering, summarization, or your association rules, or sequence discovery. So these are the descriptive analytics. So a lot of methods are available. You can go through them. Classification and label protection, typical methods on decision trees, and some of the applications could be like credit card fraud detection, direct marketing, right? Or classification of stars, diseases. Web pages can be classified according to certain patterns. So this is what is the model which is predicting the credit worthiness of a customer. So based on the historical data and the fraudulent transaction, it is trying to identify which kind of users which have been approved a credit card earlier. So what were those characteristics of a fraudulent transaction? So it is trying to identify the credit worthiness of a customer based on whether are you employed, or a level of education, or number of years present in a particular address, right? So different parameters will make it a credit worthiness worthy, yes or no. Accordingly, it will classify you in whether you are approved of a loan or disapproved. So one example could be like fraud detection. So uh, it predicts the fraudulent cases in credit card transaction. So it uses the credit card transaction and the information in the account of the account holder as various attributes, and then does a customer buy, what does he buy, and how often he pays on time. So based on all these parameters, it identifies whether you would become a fraudulent transaction or you can do a fraudulent transaction or no. Similarly, another example could be your churn prediction by used by the telephone companies. So what they do is they continuously monitor your records of various transactions. So whether you have been regularly calling the help desk, complaining a lot now, okay, or not using your mobiles regularly. So they understand that now you are likely to change the customer or service provider. So they would start sending you some goodies. So your 100 SMS free or whatever. So next 5 days you get unlimited calling or that way. So they try to make you more loyal towards your that telephone company, right? So they label the customers as loyal or disloyal based on the kind of various attributes, and finally they model the loyalty and disloyalty. They start sending goodies to you. So it could be classifying credit card transactions as a legitimate or a fraudulent, or classifying land covers based on water bodies or urban areas or a forest using the satellite data. So in maps, you would have seen different colors of different heights. So based on the height, you can classify them as a mountain or a water level or a urban areas, right? Or forest covers. So different use cases can be, or even predicting a tumor cells as benign or malignant. So I know that AKTU and KGMC, KGMU has come up and created a model which can scan the X-rays of patients and identify from the X-rays of. So they have scanned hundreds and hundreds of X-rays and they have identified whether they are COVID patient or not. Accordingly, they can. So these are predicting based on classification techniques. Next is a clustering algorithm. So finding groups of objects which are similar in nature but different from the other group. So the principle here is the maximizing the inter-class similarity. So we are minimizing the inter-class similarity and maximizing the inter-class similarity, which means that two different clusters should be away, and minimizing the inter-class similarity. So intra-cluster distance is minimized, and within the two different clusters, so the inter-cluster distance is maximized. This is the basic principle of clustering. So if you have the data, it tries to identify those points which are similar in nature and where the centroid would be with the minimum distance algorithm, right? So there are two approaches to the clustering algorithm. So one popular method is called k-mean clustering. Another is a hierarchical clustering. So k-mean clustering is primarily in the data set. If you have, let's say, n number of observations and you want to create k number of clusters, let's say 3 of them from the data set. So you assign 3 centroids at random points, and then it tries to identify the distance from all the points and calculates the mean of those points. And if the mean is away from the centroid, it that mean becomes in the next iteration, that mean becomes the centroid, right? So when in the next iteration, that centroid again calculates the points which are in vicinity and calculates the mean again, and till the mean and centroid are stable and at the same point, this iteration continues, and finally you would have those clusters where mean and the centroid would be the same, almost the same point. So it is understood that in 9 to 10 iterations, this becomes stable and you would have number of clusters defined, right? So that is what is the k-mean clustering algorithm. hierarchical clustering is using the Venn diagram. So if you have used Venn diagram concept, and in this case each node or each element is a cluster in itself. It is trying to identify which all those points are similar in nature and creates a Venn diagram. So if this case can be presented in a dendrogram also. So in this dendrogram, let's say if I want to create, so each individual element becomes a cluster in itself. But let's say if we want to create two clusters, so we would do a horizontal partition here, and all these elements like 3, 6, and 4 would become one cluster. Another cluster would be 1, 2, and 5. So these become two clusters. And let's say if I want to create three clusters, so I would uh, do it horizontally in this line, and 2, 3, 6, and 4 becomes cluster number 1. This 1 becomes a separate cluster, and 2 and 5 becomes the third cluster. Accordingly, whatever number of clusters we want, we can split it horizontally and identify the number of clusters. So this is a hierarchical clustering concept, and the output is shown in a dendrogram. So it can be used in, let's say, uh, one of them could be a sea surface temperature. So you can cluster all areas into accordingly to the temperature of the surface area. So using the k-mean, we can partition the complete hemisphere into different clusters. Or we can also use it for market segmentation. So target marketing, what we were talking about. So let's say if you have a CRM data of all your customers, so you would cluster them according to different parameters, and then you can do a target marketing with different clusters. Next comes the association and a correlation, which means that you are trying to identify those products which are frequently purchased with each other. When you purchase one, you are likely to purchase another product. So that comes from the data in itself. So what items are frequently purchased together in your Walmart or any of the market basket shop. So there is a concept of a support and a confidence. So let's say diaper, when you purchase a diaper and some other product, you are likely to purchase beer. So that is what is the association rule we are talking about, right? So are strongly associated items also strongly correlated? It may not be. So diaper and milk, purchase of diaper and milk is not at all correlated to beer, but there is an association that the person who has been assigned to buy milk and diaper also tempts to purchase beer as well. So that's the kind of association we are talking about. So how to mine such patterns and rules efficiently in large database? It's a challenge, and researchers are optimizing this. So there is an algorithm, a priori algorithm, which is effectively used, right? So the a priori algorithm talks about all the transactions. Let's say transaction ID 1, you purchase bread, coke, and milk. Another person of transaction ID 2 purchase beer and bread, beer, coke, diaper, and milk. So you get hundreds and thousands of transactions. So based on this, you can create a complete graph of all the rules and which are prominent can be used effectively by the market basket concept. So when you purchase milk, you are likely to purchase coke, let's say, and or a combination of products. So when you are likely to purchase diaper and milk, you are likely to purchase beer as well. So these are uh, uh, the association rules which can be generated from the data, and you can place your other products which are associated in a market basket shelf management. So it can be used in market basket analysis, shelf management, sales promotion. So if you understand that people purchase one item, you are likely to purchase second item. So the moment you purchase a laptop from, let's say, Flipkart or some other e-commerce site, after 6 months or 3 months time, they start sending you some alerts saying that because you have purchased laptop, you are now likely to purchase an external hard disk or a pen drive, right? So because after certain time period, you would use certain pen drives or external hard disks, right? So they have the data, and based on that data, they have created an association rule, and they do a sales promotion based on that. Even inventory management, they understand that these two products are not at all correlated. So most of the people are buying this, and the other product is not at all purchased. So accordingly, they plan their inventory. So this a priori algorithm has three factors, which is support, the confidence, and the lift. Based on these three, uh, on the left hand side, you would see the combination of various products, and what are you likely to purchase is on the right hand side, and based on that, the lift value, right? So what most the confidence interval and the lift value gives you the confidence of the market basket concept. Another approach is called the deviation or anomaly detection. So these are the outliers from the data. So I was speaking to one of the in IIM Lucknow in a group of these data science students, and one of the lady who was a CA said that, sir, I'm confused why I'm learning data science. So I said, see, you are a CA and you would generally do a lot of auditing as part of your job profile. So how do you do that? So she said, we take 10% random sampling. So I said, why not start taking the outliers as your random sample? So do a outlier detection of the data, and you would get all those outliers, right? And then do an audit of those outliers. So if you have a set pattern of data, why do you want to audit that? You want to audit those which are outliers or extreme. So if your purchase orders are of the range of 5 lakh, 10 lakh and all that, and all of a sudden 1 crore transaction has happened, you would like to audit that, right? So she was convinced. So that's the use of a deviation or an outlier detection. So be it credit card, some of the cases could be applications could be credit card fraud detection or a network intrusion. So these uh, uh, intrusion detection, your firmware or your viruses, they're all based on those outlier detection. All of a sudden, different kind of data is being sent on a server. So it understands that something is intruding into the network, and it stops that particular port or that process. Antivirus does all these activities. So based on the intrusion detection techniques, detecting changes in the forest cover, right? So all these are the uses of the outlier or anomaly detection. Regression analysis. So from the historical past, we are trying to predict the future. So you would have seen, you have measured all the points into a graph of x and y axis. So x-axis, which is independent variable, so variable which is used to predict of interest, and dependent variable, the variable which we want to predict. So y is equal to mx plus c. You would have seen that the AB line, best fit line, you would see from the data, right? So based on the value of x, let's say you have the data till December 2020, you have the sales data, right? You have plotted them, and based on that AB line on the best fit model, you are trying to predict the let's say uh, March sales, end of the year sales value. So you are predicting March 2021 data, sales data. So that is the dependent variable. You are trying to forecast a sales. So predicting sales amount for a product based on advertising expenses. So there's a correlation between advertising expense and the sales amount. Or predicting wind velocities as a function of temperature, humidity, air pressure. So multiple factors. So this is called multivariate analysis. So you have multiple factors: temperature, humidity, air pressure, and based on that you are predicting the wind velocity, right? Time series predicting based on the stock market indexes. So these are all the use cases of the regression analysis. So with the help of regression coefficient, we can calculate the correlation coefficient, and based on that AB line, we can do a estimation based on. So this is how the best fit line would be. So y is equal to mx plus c, and accordingly it will have the delta epsilon, which is the coefficient of error. So that kind of a error, it will calculate the distance between the best fit line and these points. So these are the actual points, and this is the estimated line. So on a particular x, you can then estimate the value of y. So if you have the data till December 2020, and it creates a best fit line, right? This regression line. So based on that, you can estimate, you can go to x as March 2021 and estimate the value of y. That's how the values are. So this is what is called the linear regression. Then there are other methods, which is like logistic regression. So it best fits the curve, logarithmic curve, and the data below that are, let's say, 0, and above that could be true. So false and true. So whether you are likely to get COVID or a particular disease, so it is true, or you are likely to survive from a COVID. So you are likely to survive or no. So accordingly, it will have 0 and 1 values, which is a logistic regression. So now people ask me what kind of data, this skills are required for being a data scientist. So I say that 3 type of skills are required. One is you being a mathematician. So sort of statistical understanding, your probability models, hypothesis testing, multivariate, and so these are your statistical or the mathematical model skills. You need that, right? Second is your computer science skills. So you need to understand R, Python, right? Cloud computing, databases, and understanding of various algorithms. So that is also required as part of the data science skills. The third is the various models that you need to understand. So correlation, right? Modeling exercises, business understanding. So third one becomes your understanding of those business models. So it's a combination of your IT skills, the data science, and the business skills, which gives you a perfect data scientist. So statistics is primarily used for the descriptive analytics, machine learning for predictive and cognitive analytics. So that is forecasting, right? Based on the historical past, you are so based on the data, you have learned the system, and now you are predicting for the future. Operations research for the prescriptive analytics. I'll talk about prescriptive analytics in one of the Gartner's process. Okay. So these are other domains, and the other skill proficiencies which are required. So optimization, mathematics, graphical output, right? Machine learning, data mining. So these are NLP, text mining, right? So these are all related to the technical programming. This is related to the domain knowledge, which is project management, business development, budgeting, right? Governance, and the mathematical and statistical are your various tools, various machine learning algorithm, machine learning, data mining tools, right? So it's a combination of your domain knowledge, your technical expertise, and the statistical and mathematical models. It is also interdisciplinary, so a lot of other things are required as part of the data mining. So statistics, we talked about, visualization tools, high performance computing. It has to run on big data, has to run on a high performance computing. Database technologies, so be it any of the SQL database or MongoDB or big data, so different NoSQL databases, right? So you need to understand the database technology, various algorithms, the applications, the machine learning, and the pattern recognition. So these are different interdisciplinary algorithms available. So what are the, so data mining as such is a very structured method. So you have to identify and define a problem and the opportunity, right? So first you have to think about what you are trying to achieve from the data science, and then you have to start preparing the data. So some data would come from Twitter. Let's say if you are doing a sentiment analysis of your new product. Okay. So if you have launched, the company has launched a product and you are trying to understand what industry is talking about, whether are they sensitive about it, are they positive about it or negative about it. So you start capturing data from different data sources. So be it the email responses that you would have got, or your help desk team would be receiving lots of calls, right? So all that data, or from the Twitter handle, or from Facebook, people would be talking about it, right? So all that data is captured and then brought into a single output in a format, and then you do a transformation of that data into a meaningful information. Then you run your models to identify and get some meaningful information from that. You validate that model on a different samples. So you have the data and a test data. So you run that model on a test data and you try to find out whether it is giving me the correct output or not. And then you can do fine tune the model. So this is the complete cycle of a data science. So most of the time, 80% of the time is spent in the pre-processing part. So pre-processing includes the identifying the business problem, then identifying the data sources, selecting the data, and then doing the cleansing of the data, right? So some of the data would be missing, so you have to populate with the average of the data, right? Or some of the data could be missing and you have to populate with 99 or something different, which is a different data, right? So accordingly, then you have to transform the data and upload into a format where you do a analysis of the data. So when you are prepared with that data, 80% of the time would have gone, and then running your model and then presenting it as per the need. So a presentation and information is just the 20% part of it. 80% is spent in the pre-processing part. And naturally you would have seen all this, the mean, median, mode. You have all learned various aspects of the machine learning or this data science. Even you have seen the normal distribution curves, the skewedness, the extreme values on one side of the distribution. So it is negatively skewed when you have the mean is lesser than the median and median is less than mode. So it is negatively. So you, when from the data, when you have all these mean, median, mode values, accordingly you would see that is a negatively skewed values. And when mean, median, mode are symmetric or almost at the same point, so it is a symmetric, it's not a skewed kind of a normal curve. Similarly, if the mean is greater than median and median is greater than mode, it is a positively skewed. And next comes the kurtosis, which is the peakness and the distribution of the data. So peakness, so it could be high and thin, which is called leptokurtic. Normal shaped is mesokurtic, and flat and spread out kind of is latikurtic. So these are different characteristics of the normal distribution. Next is how you look at the data. So you have to sort the data, all the data, and define 25 percentile, 50 percentile, 75 percentile, right? Or 100%. So even in your GATE exam or CAT, you get the percentile. Percentile means how many people are below you, right? So 25 percentile would mean 25% of below data, right? So accordingly, Q3, so Q1 is 25%, Q2 is 50% percentile, Q3 is 75 percentile, and Q3 minus Q1 gives you the maximum data, so which is interquartile range. So you have minimum data, the maximum data, then you have Q1, then the median, and Q3. These are the data which you would then plot it in a box plot. So what is this box plot? So you can plot that data in various patterns, various output, be it box plot or a histogram or a quartile plot or a QQ plot, which is quartile plot, scatter plot, right? This is a box plot. So data can be represented in a box plot, which is like this. So these are the outliers. Anything lesser than Q1 and 1.5 times the IQR. IQR is interquartile range. So which is Q3 minus Q1. So 1.5 times the quartile IQR gives you the outliers. right? So these data which are potentially outliers, it could be on the left side, minimum side, as well as on the other side, which is on the maximum side. So this gives you a clear idea of where your mean is, where your median is, how big is your Q1 and Q3, and what are the data which is on the outlier side. Another presentation is using quartile. So you sort the data and then plot it in a on a graph. So you get the F value and the unit price, let's say, and then you can use the same two different data sets to compare between them. So you can compare the data from shop or unit 1 and unit 2, unit 3, branch 1, branch 2. So you can have sales data comparison between various branches using the QQ graph. Also, you can use scatter plot to plot your data with respect to, let's say, unit price and the item sold, right? You get a data, and based on that data, you can then plot it using the linear. So it gives you either a linear relationship. So with increase of x-axis data, you would have increase in y. So it's a positively linear data, or increase in x, that y would decrease. So it's a negatively linear relationship, or it could also be a curvilinear. So y is equal to ax square, ax plus bx square plus c. So it can be a curvilinear kind of a relationship also, right? Or it could be a altogether uncorrelated data as well. Another presentation is a tree map. We have seen it in your, when you see various uh, hard disk presentation, all PDFs in a single cluster, right? So you have the hierarchical partitioning of your hard disk in a tree map. It could also be a word cloud. So based on, let's say, different kind of keywords. So if you are talking about the business analytics, so what are the other keywords that are similar in nature, and what is that size talks about the number of occurrences that word would have. So a bigger size would see that the number of occurrences are higher, and a smaller size would talk about the lesser occurrence of. So people are talking, what people are talking about are these bigger data. It can also be clustered based on the sentiment. So all the data which is negatively clustered, the positive or neutral, according to some keywords. So we'll, in one of the sessions, we'll talk about the sentiment analysis using let's say Twitter or some other social media feeds. So this is a summary of a lot of visualization tools that we can use. So arc diagram or a area graph or a bar chart or different tree diagram or box plot, right? So you can go through them. So these are industry talks about these 10 algorithms which are very prominent which, in the used by data scientists. One is regression, clustering, decision tree, right? Or visualization, the k nearest neighborhood method, PCA, which is principal component analysis, to identify which all variables are related or which are going to affect the analysis, statistical random forest, right? Time series analysis, or even the text mining. So these are 10 algorithms which industry is effectively using. So now I'll quickly move on why data science, right? So we have already seen that large amount of data has occurred over last few years, and because of the cost of storage has come down drastically, and the compute power, even your mobile carries a compute power which was sometimes back some high-end computers, right? And the communication channels bandwidth has become effectively available. So the cost of storage, unlimited compute power, and high bandwidth has made the data science and business analytics very effective as of now. Even the rapid rise in AI investment. So a lot of people are working on the algorithm creation of AI, machine learning, because a lot of data is there. So how to effectively and efficiently analyze the data, gives you the uh, edge on the business analytics. So Gartner has presented the data in three forms. So if you do analysis of the data, which is called descriptive analytics, right? So you get the bottom of, so the difficulty level is low and the value you get is low. So what happened? All historical past. So which is descriptive analytics. Then you come with the, if you increase the difficulty level, different algorithm. Uh, so why did it happen? You are trying to identify the reasons. So you are running the uh, models on diagnostic analytics. So diagnostic analytics, you are on the data, you are running a business intelligence or a model. So it gives on the data, it is when you run a model, it gives you the diagnostic analytics. Why did it happen, right? So another is when you use the data and use the machine learning, it gives you a predictive analytics. From till the data for December 2020, you have the sales data and you can do a forecasting and find out a using predictive analytics, you can find out the sales by end of the year or next quarter, right? So what will happen is predictive analytics. And when you have the combination of all the three, the data, the business intelligence, and the forecasting and machine learning, you get the prescriptive analytics. So prescriptive analytics is what are those parameters which will make a particular target output. So how can we make it happen, right? So what parameters the change? So it is more of an operational research. What parameter change? What if analysis? So that's the highest level of difficulty, and you get the best value from. So this is Gartner says it in this particular diagram. So we have already seen that data analytics can be used in a lot of use cases. Even Government of India, Niti Aayog has released a draft national strategy on artificial intelligence. So I would suggest you all to download this particular file, which is a national strategy of artificial intelligence, and it talks about these 6 areas for use of analytics. So be it healthcare, agriculture, education, smart cities, and infrastructure and transportation. So industry is focused in these 6 areas. For you guys, you can start using and download some of the, so for data science, you need certain data, right? So these data sets are available from these open sites. So Government of India has also come up with data.gov.in with a lot of data is available. So you, based on pin code, you would have the population, male, female, educated, how many of them are having a uh, solar system installed. So a lot of data is available. You can use that. Or health data dot. So these are from different different countries. So a lot of open data sets are available. You can download them and start using it for your data analytics. So quickly moving on to a structured process of data mining. So industry has come up with this model called CRISP DM. So cross industry standard process for data mining model. So it's a 6-step process, and various companies have come up and created this model where it is a 6-step process. So first step is your business understanding, right? The second is your data understanding. So you need to understand data, right? A1 from branch 1 may mean something else. From a production unit which is in US, C1 would mean the same, but the code is different. So you need to understand the data. So you have to club A1 from India and C1 from US as a same product, right? So that comes from the business understanding that this particular part number and the sales around that part number is same as C1 from a different country, and accordingly you need to merge that data into, so you need to understand that data. So when you have understood the data, you prepare that data properly, and then you do a model building. So generally it is said 80% of the data, from the data you random sample that 80% on which you generate the model, and on the 20% you test the model. So you have to test and evaluate. Are you getting the right output and all? If you're not comfortable, it's a iterative process. You have to again go back and do a data and understand data preparation and do a model again. And when you're comfortable, you move it to deployment. So you move it to production. So that's the cycle of a data mining process. So quickly, so that was about what I wanted to discuss. Now quickly I'll share some of the use cases of what I have done from the industry. I'll be talking about few of them. The e-commerce site, so it includes the OEM, the manufacturer. It involves the retailer, right? So in the center is your customer, retailer, logistics, supplier, distribution. They all are required as part of a e-commerce site. So what are the algorithms which can be used? So user churn prediction, whether how you have to engage your customer at the right time to reduce the churn. So because the cost of getting a customer is high, so you have to focus on customers leaving you. Recommendation engine, upselling and cross selling, right? So based on the similar kind of data, you have to cross sell and upsell your products. Customer segmentation for your you have to cluster your customers according to different features and then do a target marketing. Marketing campaign optimization. So you can optimize your campaign based on after you have clustered and your customers accordingly. Product inventory optimization. We have already seen that in market basket you can optimize your inventory based on the product, or you can place your warehouses according to wherever the inventory high inventory is required. Dynamic deal scoring, so it helps you in pricing your products very smartly. So 10 part, so I was working on this B2B e-commerce portal, and we realized that on a particular day, let's say Tuesdays, the sale was very high and the customers were mostly ladies, right? So we tried to analyze what that issue was. So it was a travel portal. So when we discussed with few of the customers, they said, okay, on Sunday we decided on a particular tour and requested husband to book a ticket. On Monday he forgot, so Tuesdays ladies booked the ticket, and that was a fact. And we started giving, let's say, 5% discount on Tuesdays first half, and our sale increased to almost double within a month's time. That's how you do a dynamic school smart pricing based on your data analytics. Supply chain optimization, we talked about that. Where warehouses have to be smartly placed, so you get wherever the sale is high, or wherever those products which are cost, and you have to calculate all the costs of transportation, right? Accordingly you can optimize the supply chain. Customer segmentation, inventory forecasting, so accordingly the warehouses are grouped and your, so they are warehoused according to the inventory forecast, sales forecast, even HR analytics. A lot of companies have started the HR analytics part, where they predict how the employee would be performing and whether there is a risk of leaving a particular employee based on different parameters. So HR analytics has become very popular now. Fake review detection, right? So they use a relevancy algorithm to identify whether the news is fake or not. So they can categorize a fake news and a valid news. So it searches the internet and tries to identify the news, and accordingly it identifies using this relevancy algorithm. Multivariate analysis, right? Customer pricing and profit optimization. So various use cases are available. Advertising optimization, software and hardware system analytics. Even data centers have started using it. So it is called log analytics, right? So you, when a hard disk crashes, the server would crash also, right? So before a hard disk crashes, it starts sending certain symptoms and locks it into a log file. So the algorithms are available to read those log files, and from that log file it tries to identify the performance of the server and gives you the analytics that a particular server or a hard disk is going to crash, or certain memory leakage is happening, and all that it can do based on the various analytical tools. Another use case is I was working on this data warehouse on the PRS's passenger reservation system from Indian Railways. So we have used a lot of BI tools on the analytics. You would have seen in the recent IRCTC part, you would have seen the confirmation chances, right? When you book a ticket, if it is waitlist, what is the likelihood of you getting your ticket confirmed? So that changes based on the time series analysis and the probabilistic model. So it runs probabilistic model and understands from the previous historical past of the last 20 years the pattern of the confirmation, and based on that it gives you the confirmation chances. So this probability is based on the time series analysis and the probabilistic model, right? So this is the other side of the Facebook can predict your breakups. It's an extreme of data analytics. So Facebook can predict with scary accuracy if your relationship will last or not. So these are kind of, Facebook does it, and even Google can detect some of the, because of it can capture a lot of data from your eyes, and accordingly it does a machine learning to fight the blindness. So it's scary, but you can do it. So even algorithms are available to know whether your selfie would be popular or not. So based on that, it will give you the index of the popularity of that particular selfie. Even companies have started using, this company which is Crime Radar is using machine learning to predict crime in Rio de Janeiro or different countries or different cities. So it can predict the crime rate, right? Accordingly it can identify which are those clusters where crime is more and what is the likelihood of crime. This is also other side of the data science, the AI camera. So in one of the latest last football match, AI robot camera was installed and it was trained to follow the ball, right? But kept mistaking a referee's bald head with the ball. So, and then you have to do a lot of you have to train that model again, that it should not be a referee, it should be a ball itself. So these were the recent mistakes that has happened. So AI camera which was installed to automatically identify the football, kept mistaking a referee's bald head with the ball and kept focusing on, but generally the referee and the ball are at the same location, so it was okay, but generally it needs more machine learning. Machine learning in the agriculture field, lot of use cases are available for the data science for the agriculture field. So even the people have been talking about minimum support price, MSP. So price forecasting can be done using the various data algorithms. So we use this National Agriculture Market, Soil Health Card, M-Kisan portal, and a lot of data is being collected from, and these are the factors on which the MSP is decided. Let's say yield prediction using machine learning, competitive advantage, weather data comes from the IMD, right? Satellite machinery, special event holidays have different effect on the MSP. Diwali coming or different festivals coming, macroeconomics, farm machinery, operating cost, right? Petrol, diesel prices, fertilizer, pesticides. So these all factors affect the minimum support price of a crop. How many warehouses are there, cold storage are in that area. So government wants that MSP should be as per the different zones. As of now, MSP is declared across, right? So now with this machine learning algorithm, they want MSP district wise, let's say, or state wise, different geographical wise, or season wise. Accordingly, they should come out with different MSPs at regular intervals. So this was FIFA 2018, where the IoT based sensors were installed, and they had a wristband which had a IoT sensors, so it could sense a lot of what is the pulse rate, how much you have setted, what is your run. So accordingly, the game management would decide on which player to replace, right? So based on the fatigueness and sweating and what is the speed of running, all that you can define which player they need to replace. So it identifies the player performance. So it is estimated that 1 billion cameras would be installed worldwide by this year end. So which is 1 billion, that means 30 billion interfaces recorded per second. So can somebody monitor that? No, it has to be a AI enabled real time surveillance system which can identify the different patterns. So what are these patterns? It could be your vehicle detection or a license so these are text mining, different machine learning algorithms are available. Pedestrian detection, right? Face detection, face identification, face alignment, vehicle type, right? Crowd density analysis, crowd tracking, face recognition, or even seat belt not fastened, phone calling, right? Different type of clothes, riding without helmet, mask, backpack, hat. A lot of data can be used, but it is also this is the negative side of it. So when we talk about it, it can be exploited. So in physical world, remote controlled car crashes has been done. Read about it. In the digital space, sophisticated phishing. So these are auto-generated algorithms which are used to do a attack on different systems. From the political, we have seen that manipulating the public opinion using fake news and fake videos generated by bots and AI can impact the public opinion, change the public opinion. So this was used in 2016 US presidential campaign. So that's how this is a negative aspect of the AI and machine learning. I have used this text mining for, let's say, the Havel Sedonia product, which when it was launched, and then did a sentiment analysis. And based on that sentiment analysis extraction from Twitter, we'll be doing this exercise in one of the sessions. You can do a text mining using different keywords, data science, IoT, FIFA, and extract that data and see what industry is talking about. So frankly speaking, data science is everywhere now, be it internet, medicine, media and entertainment, security, or even the autonomous vehicles. So finally, I would say that it's a systematic approach. It's not a random approach. It's not a one-time approach. You have to keep iterating it. It's an evaluation, not a revolution, right? So try, test, and tier it. So your data is worth more than what you think. So keep churning the data and you would get lot of. So these are some of my articles recently published. You can go through them. And in the next sessions, we'll be talking about the R Studio. So guys, download this R because our next workshop and discussion would be around the R. So download this R Studio, and when you have downloaded and installed, just try to run this x less than minus 2 into 4, and then in the next line just say x and run it. If you see 8, you are done, right? So just download R, and we would start from there in the next session. So what is the meaning of data science? It is primarily torture the data and it will confess to anything. That's the intent of the data science. The more you churn the data, it will start confessing itself. तो डेटा की बहुत पिटाई करो, डेटा अपने आप कुछ ना कुछ बोलेगा. That is about the first session today.
Thank you so much, sir. May you please show the back side, please, where we have mentioned the link. Yes.
So you can download R Studio from rstudio.com.
That's why I was asking because I can share this link to email to our 165 to 180 participant who attended the session today. So now quickly coming to the few questions which are asked by our friends. First one is, what is IoT devices? I think
so IoT devices are these electronic devices. Let's say sensors which can communicate, which can also communicate to the central servers. Even your mobile is an IoT device, so it can sense the latitude, longitude, right? And it sends the data to Google, and then based on all the data analytics is done, and it identifies which particular route, what is the speed of the vehicles. So accordingly, it gives you the red, green, and yellow of the route. So even your mobile has become an IoT device. IoT is Internet of Things. So these are all sensor based devices. Let's say these IoT devices can be let's say on a solar panel, if it is embedded as IoT devices, so it can identify the heat ambience of the sun rays, whether it is cloudy, what is the energy generated, right? All that can be then sent to the central server, and you can identify the potential of that solar energy.
Ini Chauhan is asking, can you please elaborate a little on the difference between the responsible AI and the generative AI?
Correct. So generative AI, as I said, it is generating the fake news. It is an automated process, and these so these are the processes which generate some negative or fake news. So it is generative AI. So these algorithms generate the negative and fake algorithms or fake data. So videos or SMSs or what in WhatsApp you get lots of fake news, right? So this is done using generative AI. And responsible AI, because there is a generative AI, people have started generating fake news. So there is a need of responsible AI. So it identifies whether that particular news is or a content is fake or not. Accordingly, it gives you it is a responsible AI algorithm.
Shruti Keshri is asking, what is the difference between association and linking?
So linking is primarily the association between various variables. So if you have 100 variables, let's say when we were doing the minimum support price of a crop, so it has pesticide rate, the weather forecast values, and so it has around 45 variables. So linking is associating which variables affect the MSP of a, let's say, of a crop. So it is that the principal component analysis which we say, it is a linking of those variables which are likely to change the MSP. Association is when what product when you purchase is likely to purchase another product. So there is an association between two product purchases.
And Ms. Nidhi is asking, sir, under what category recommendation system will come?
What under what category recommendation engine? So recommendation engine is a unsupervised learning process, and based on the recommendation engine is primarily your association, let's say association or a clustering. These are all as recommendation engines, and these are all unsupervised learning.
So Abhishek is asking, sir, what kind of thing is when Google writes your system is sending data traffic? I think जब Google लिखता है your system is sending data traffic, उसको ये पूछना चाह रहे हैं.
So this could be a normal Google message that whenever it sends the backend data to the central server, it could be sending a message to you, nothing related to data science or anything.
Right. So can we try it on some online ID instead of downloading RStudio?
No, you have to install RStudio on your desktop only, and because it's a offline, it's a tool where you run all the R code. So you have to download RStudio. With RStudio, R is automatically installed. So just install RStudio and you are good to go.
How data science updating a person in total?
I didn't get that. What is it?
How data science can upgrade a person?
Upgrade a person.
Right.
Right. So it would mean that you get more knowledgeable and you work smartly in that case, right? So if a person is said to be a smart person, it is he's using his data analytics efficiently. So you have the data. What you can do with the data? You run the data analytics on top of it, get the information on it, and then you can smartly work on that information that you get.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Adas is asking Python or R. Which one is better for data science?
So both the streams, are programming languages. So doesn't make a difference. R is equally good. So lot of statistical models. R is a package based. So lot of packages. It's a open source community, and people have been using R. So when it is moved to production, so for production purpose, Python is, so what people do, they do mathematical or these statistical models on R, and that model can then be populated using Python for production run. So when it is more of production and programming, so it is Python, but generally data analysis is done in R Studio.
Nikhil Kumar is asking, sir, what is embedded AI?
So embedded, like embedded AI would mean that if AI data is sent to the central servers and there you run the data models or mathematical models, it is artificial intelligence or you are running the machine learning algorithm. But when you get lot of data, so even smaller devices can have the data science, or they have the machine learning algorithm. Even the chip, like Intel is coming out with a chip which has AI analytics. AI, you can do a lot of AI analytics on top of it within itself. So it doesn't send a lot of data to the central servers. It does analytics and sends only the limited data. So that is the part of the embedded AI. So all these AI can be embedded as part of the edge devices or the different set of devices.
Thank you so much, sir. One of my friend is asking that how can I attend this lecture, because due to internet I was not able to attend. So I
Yeah,
can
you have
just
that YouTube.
upload this lecture on YouTube, and you can attend all 4 lectures, which will be easy for you to answer the quizzes, and at the end of this series. So these are the few questions which were asked by our students, and I shared with you. Hopefully, most of the questions have been covered in, during your slide and your presentations. So right now, we are at the end of the session. So uh, on the behalf of your university, I would like to thank you so much, and for your valuable time and knowledgeful session. And I am sure that the next session, which is scheduled on 3rd February of 2021, understanding R as programming language, which will definitely give a more better understanding of this language and the scenario of the data science. So once again, I invite all participants on 3rd February, once again at 4 p.m. You have already registered them yourself. I will share another email so that you can join again. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you. Even though it was a lengthy discussion, but I thought giving you a bigger perspective of a data science and machine learning was required. And now we have covered some of the use cases which we have run in the industry. You would have a better understanding of the data science. Next session, we'll talk about the R programming language, and subsequently we'll then go into the details of another
उसके लिए
algorithm.
सभी लोग R लैंग्वेज को डाउनलोड कर लें. इसका लिंक मैं अभी मैंने क्लिक कर लिया स्लाइड को. अगर पर्टिकुलरली वो स्लाइड मुझे मिल जाएगी तो मैं सभी के साथ वो पर्टिकुलर लिंक आज ही रात में मैं ईमेल भेज दूंगा.
अभी तो मैं आपको शेयर कर दूंगा वो लिंक अभी आपको.
सो दैट ये सभी अपने सिस्टम पे डाउनलोड करके रखेंगे तो नेक्स्ट टाइम में इजी होगा अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए.
Sure. Thank you everyone.